will be conditioned by his thoughts. If he cannot generate quality thoughts, he cannot be a quality provider, a quality priest. And what women measure a man with is the fruit of how he has ordered his life to the place he can provide. But this element of provision comes from a thought process. But now, a man can easily be tasked with roles and disconnected from his first function, which is to think.
But Welly, let me ask you this question. Someone actually might ask you, where do you get that thought from, that the first function of a man is to think? Because he's formed with his thoughts, right? As a man thinketh, so he is.
Yeah, so he's he's one with his thoughts.
Where someone might ask you, explain to me, why will you say that that is the core of a man, to think?
Fine, fantastic question. I believe in the Bible, my primary source. The first function that God gave Adam was what? To name.
Yeah.
He never gave him a woman, he gave him the function to name. And what is to name? God wanted to see, and the Bible says whatever he named them, they became. Meaning, to name is the first function of a man. And what is to name? To give the mind of the master. To give the mind of the master over a matter. So when Adam was saying this and God was coming and concurring with him, that was his first function.
Right.
Until Adam named every creature, then he came and now said, now it is not good for a man to be alone and all that. So his first function was to name. His second function was to tend. And as long as he tended the garden and named every creature, then now God could introduce the helper.
So this naming, do you feel it also talks about authority, as in governance, so to speak?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Oversight?
And it's actually to define oversight. It's to define function.
Yeah.
And that is what men ought to be now. That is why one of the things that happens is that as we are trying to soften men so that they can coexist with women, we are losing an authentic strength that is developed when a man can be able to be comfortable and trust his thoughts. Because every responsibility a man, what we call a good man, we never ask men whether this is a good person. We ask women, what does it make a good man? Then men go and try to be what women think a good man ought to be.
Yeah.
What women have defined men, that is now what we try to live up to. But that is not the order of manhood, because in manhood, you enhance what is around you until you look at Solomon. He never went around hunting Sheba, but he built such an order. He made gold dust. He built such an order that the woman in another country traveled all the way to test him with hard questions, and it hit her, Jesus Christ, this person, even if I was to go pray for 3 days, the answers he has given me are the same answers God would have given me.
Whoa, I hear you. But my friend, I must warn you, you are being necessarily seriously very deep here, and we need to deconstruct that depth and
deconstruct
make it as
by boys.
As
Come to my guys.
Exactly, as chewable as possible to the normal guy. So let's go back just a little bit, all right? The man, when you talk about the authenticity of the man, tell me, you've said that it is about him being spirit, recognizing that he is spirit, and not necessarily a religious guy, right?
Yeah.
This applies to just about every male born. There is an order of spirit for every male born.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
The second thing you've talked about is the thoughts of a man.
Yes.
These thoughts are what define who he is, right?
Yes.
Now,
they define who he is,
yeah,
and how he defines the world around him.
Now, my question to you will be this. What is the origin of these thoughts? Because men have very many sources of information. In fact, in this day and in this age, right? So you said that there's a rarity of the authenticity of a man, and you're linking the authenticity of a man to spirit and to thoughts. But where is the origin? I mean, what is the, for lack of a better word, what's the ground zero of all this? Where is the cove that this comes from? So that it can be authentic, because you realize that in this world and this age, there is the internet. There are magazines, men's magazines out there. There are podcasts like this one talking about men. There are ideologies like a man can marry another man and all that stuff. But where does an authentic male man find the original information that he can think about, ruminate about, and define his world about?
That's a good one. Well, I would say this for a man, and this is, unfortunately, we learn manhood so that we can relate with women.
Oh, so that is a wrong approach, right?
That is a wrong approach, because that already sets us off that I am trying to be a man so that I can be safe for women, or be good to a woman, or be providing to a woman, or it's as if we end up becoming secondary parents to our opposite gender.
And we supposed to be that, for the women?
Yeah, but it should not be that manhood is only geared towards what we are to our women.
Okay.
But most of it, and that's what we call conditioned manhood, it's not authentic manhood.
Okay.
So when women start celebrating men with beards, more men begin to create beards. When women feel to grow beards and all that.
Yeah.
When women start feeling like it is sexy for a man to carry a woman's bag, men automatically begin to feel like, well, let's tag along, and that is what we are calling conditioned manhood.
Right.
It is born out of a premise that if the opposite likes it, I have to be it.
Right.
And I'll say something here, and maybe I'll now get your answer. You see, when women are choosing a man, when in a relationship setting, women choose a man who makes them feel they cannot do without them. A woman says, I want my man to treat me and love me the way he cannot do without me. But on the other side, when they are making the decision of that man, they want a man whom they cannot do without, because they know one thing, that will be a sign that it will be hard for him to leave me. But when women are leaving a man, they want a man who cannot do without them, but they choose a man whom they can do without.
Okay, you're gonna have
so
to do
women,
a retake over there.
Women choose men that they can. Women choose men they can do without, and men choose women they can't do without. And that's the problem.
Hold
on. That is
women. This is deep.
Yeah.
I have got to, for you, I think you are assuming that I know all these things, and so you're just passing through.
Oh, it's as if you're talking to somebody who...
Yeah, I don't know this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, hold on. You've said women choose men. Say that again.
Yeah. Women choose men that they can do without.
Women choose men that they can do without.
Yeah.
Okay. And men
choose women
that they cannot do without.
And that's why suicide rates are higher amongst men than amongst women.
But hold on, why would women choose men that they can do without?
Because that man will be a pet. if she has a tantrum, if she has everything about her makeup will be, this man will condition himself for me. But I can play the role. You see, we are living in a time whereby what we have called the empowerment of the women has also raised an enmity against men from somewhere, which should not have been the case. Empowerment was not about reducing the man and lifting the woman. Empowerment is about lifting the woman to where the man is, not lifting the man, so the woman, so that now the man now feels how it felt like to be there. So when they're making a choice, like, should this man play me? Should this man leave me? They're making all those calculations and then saying, this one can push me and stand me up. But when a man is what we call in the hunting phase of the vision, of the relationship, when they're hunting the woman, they will be like, I can't do that. They will go borrow money to go impress her. They will go pick her up. They will do everything. All out. Remember her birthdays. Remember this. It's as if we are living with, it's an emperor here we are dealing with. You have to know every detail about them and trying to cover every count to customize yourself for that particular person. But now that is not love. That's slavery. That's a camouflage of authentic love. What we are, and that's where we begin to start our relationships from a strain, because the man strained to catch you.
Okay, so Welly, let me ask you this. There are very many talking points that you are sharing in just one sentence. They're like a gazillion talking points. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Let's go back to the woman. Of course, we're gonna go to the men.
But
let me ask you about women. Is there something about the authentic woman? What does the authentic woman want, really? Because you say that women in general, they are looking for, they get men that they can do without. But the authentic woman, what is she looking for?
The authentic woman, most of the time, they are looking for a father.
Oh, you guy. Okay.
Yeah. So if you've never developed as a man to the point where you can father her, and it is not an age thing, that is why spirit is an order, man is an order. Now, if you've never built an order that can father her, you will always have all the tests, all the maneuvers, all the antiques. You see, women were made for relationship. Men weren't made for relationship necessarily. It is even God who said it is good for the man. The man wasn't crying. It is God who saw. It is good for a man not to be alone.
It is not good for a man to be alone.
To be alone, yeah. It is God who saw it. The man himself had not even thought that what was missing was a woman. He did not pick it out from within himself. Okay? So men, they function in relationships that are functional. But what we've now created is, first of all, we make the man dysfunctional so that he becomes a passive respondent or a passive participator or a passive leader in the relationship, so that we achieve what we call harmony. So you see, you cannot take two halves in a relationship and make one.
You're right.
We can't half the man and half the woman and get one.
Yeah.
In a relationship, if you half the man and half the woman, what you're left with is a quarter and a quarter. Yeah. So you will never get the full. You will always be half. So there will always be an emptiness in that relationship. So we have got to first of all ask ourselves, before we ask for a relationship as men, and that's our problem, we follow, my peers are getting married and all this. Before we ask for a relationship, have we developed a thought process that can remain stable, successful, progressive, and spiritual in this relationship? And the relationship must not need to be sexual. It doesn't need to be anything. But in every relationship, a man must always ask himself, does my thought process remain stable, successful, spiritual, in every environment, or I am sabotaging my authenticity because